Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Hello, everybody. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Always trying to think of a new fancy way to start these videos that puts a smile on a few people's faces, so you know who you are. Hopefully, I just gave you a big smile. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. It is Friday, TGIF. You can see just about 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Trying to get this thing started on time. We have special guests on the call today. I think he's going to join us. I'm not quite sure. Hey, oh, there he's back. Now he's here. Now he's there. Now he's connecting. Now he's unconnecting. Hey, he's all over the place. Anyway, we've got our level 1 instructor on the call today, talking to us in the after party and sharing his wisdom of the market. Let's see, Grandma, you got a microphone there you can turn on? I see he's muted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, hi, buddy. How you doing here today?
Oh, pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, can't complain. Besides, you know the answer to that. In fact, actually, I used to say that line when you first came on the site, and everybody laughed. That's an old broker line of mine. Can't complain, but besides, nobody listens when I do. But anyway. So we're going to have a really fun conversation. Actually, this dovetails nicely. I did watch. We had one site member who came on and chatted with Julian yesterday through his baby powder report, and seemed to have been received very, very well by the community. Effie, who, if I understand correctly, I think he's turned himself into a pretty darn good trader, so I'm really excited for him. I'm also excited, too, at the way that the TRI sort of offering is building out, and we have these special guests that come on, and I can't wait to jump in and pick Grimm's brain in the after party show today, so super excited for that. So welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right on. So we'll do a half hour. See if I can try and get it into that window. Summary of what I see going on in the market. I will say, full disclosure, a bunch of meetings this morning. And Fridays, I'm not really a big fan of doing a lot of trades on Mondays or Fridays anyway. Usually they say something like 70 to 80% of all trends for the week are established through the Tuesday, Wednesday windows. So Fridays usually I kind of try and take it a little bit easy. If anything, with crypto, we should be trying to sort of set ourselves up for what does the weekend look like. And are there any names that are getting ready to go ballistic? I was pointing out yesterday, one of the names that a community member shared with us a few months ago has already gone 10x. Already off of its double bottom. It's remarkable to see how powerful these moves can be. So I do remember distinctly back in January, or probably more like November, December, I was like, people, get your together. Get your plan together. Get your capital together. Get ready. Get set. Because the bull is roaring here. And interestingly enough, even when we get like little periods of potential weakness, the market just can't break down because we're already at the bottom end of the range. I think I've told you guys before, this is the one really handy sort of aspect of this weekly commodity trend survey, is it just clearly illustrates where you probably shouldn't be thinking about shorting because you're just going to get your head handed to you. And then conversely, of course, when they're spitting out warning signals, you probably shouldn't buy. And I mean, we probably should change this to like a verbal, maybe even across the top here. We should have 1 is stay the hell away, 2 is, still sell, 3 is neutral, 4 is neutral, 5 is, hey, start getting interested, and 6 is buy, 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 buy. And look at all the damn 6s. Right across the board in crypto. So that's probably a market you don't really want to short. Having said that, breadth indicator kind of cleaning itself up after getting maybe a little bit overbought. Interesting how we do have some site members who are like, I don't trade unless I see all 3 of these pointing in the same direction. And you can see right now the stock market itself is trying to play catch up. I've said this to you guys, and I still firmly believe this. I think crypto is an excellent leading indicator of the economy and of our society, risk assets, if you will. It's on the cutting edge of technology. This economy must grow. You've heard me squawk about that forever with all this sort of voodoo economics world that we live in. So as a result, not a big surprise. It's almost like the stock market is begrudgingly trying to play catch up to this crypto bull. Also, too, we're dealing in seasonalities here. There is an old expression, try and remember this: buy when it snows, sell when it goes. So if you go back and look at the charts back in November, that's usually when it starts snowing. That's actually when we had our last really killer buy signal. Had a little bit of a dip there, through January. Usually the end of January sort of reflects what the price action is going to look like through the rest of the year. They say the January barometer. So if we're thinking maybe there's going to be a pullback in October or September, that's usually when there's a pullback in the market. Well, you'll often see that sort of latter part of January, early part of February, we get that pullback, and then boom, we ran into another bull wave here. So, interestingly enough, one market participant that I like to follow, a gentleman by the name of Larry Williams, put out a video recently on stockcharts.com. It's behind their paywall, so I'm not going to really talk too much about the video itself. But what I will just simply say is his thesis, and he's got a good 30 years on me. His thesis is basically as soon as the Fed perceives that it's gotten in front of this inflation problem, they will telegraph that to the public. And you're probably going to see the equity markets rally smartly once the market believes that the Fed has actually gotten in front of this inflation problem. And I also watched a really interesting, a fascinating YouTube video interview last night with, and I think I tweeted it out. I sure hope I did. But this gentleman here, this guy's smart as a whip. And I have to say, this other gentleman who actually does this forward guidance show, this gentleman, man, he has got some killer guests on. Of course, we've watched him interview Chris's girlfriend quite a bit. Excellent conversations he's had with her. This gentleman, wow, he's smart as smart. Nick, and you can get his follow. I would recommend, if you're really want to be like an informed market participant, that you follow this guy. He's very, very smart about the commercial real estate business. And he says the commercial real estate business is in big trouble, but ironically enough, you've heard Brian barking about it. The one part of the real estate market that seems to be perfectly fine and there is nothing wrong with it, everybody wants to go and buy a single family home right now. And so as a result, no concerns whatsoever about single family homes. But commercial real estate, things like offices, retail, multifamily dwellings, big apartment buildings and stuff like that. He's saying there's probably some troubles down the road. And I wouldn't be surprised if this banking crisis, he basically said in his circles that the banking crisis, especially in Silicon Valley, where of course a lot of these sort of, high growth beta kind of names are, it's almost the equivalent of the Fed raising interest rates by 100 beeps. So the point being that he believes that there are the cracks that the Fed wanted to see in the economy. The economy is starting to show those cracks, that things are starting to slow down. And of course, we're getting in front of this inflation problem. But usually what that translates into is what they call a hard landing. The interesting thing about this, though, is that the United States of America is not where you're going to find the hard landing kind of data. What I'm personally worried about, of course, being here in Canada, Canada is a commodity country. Of course, substitute drama teachers, they'd like to change that, but I don't think even one person could possibly change the fact that Canada is sitting on I think it's the second largest oil deposit in the world. In the oil sands. And of course, all our agriculture. Of course, the Greens want to try and put the ags out of business. But anyway, here nor there. Point is, Canada's a commodity country, and we are not in a commodity cycle anymore. In fact, we are in an anti-commodity cycle. And I'd be very worried about a country like Canada having to go through that hard landing. And we'll see how that plays out. I think the real poop hitting the fan comes in 27, 28, 29, which would correspond perfectly with like the 87 crash, which really wasn't a crash in the United States, but it was a crash globally. And you could argue that the 87 crash and really the bottom falling out of the oil market in 86 was the precursor to the collapse of the Soviet Union and that decade that followed, where commodity prices were just very weak. And of course, all the commodity nations died 1,000 deaths. And of course, I'm in Canada here. And trust me, Canada had a very, very difficult 1990s. So I guess the writing's on the walls, but ironically enough, the underlying core strength of things like single-family homes down in the States, very strong. And we've been talking to you guys about this recently, that there are massive corporations that are just coming up and buying, like, a real estate development project will have 700 houses, and he said that these corporations, they'll just come and buy like 300 houses. Boom, here's $1 billion. Merry Christmas, deal's done. And he said that overseas, like pension funds and stuff out of Asia and stuff, are just coming to North America, and that's the only thing they want to buy. They want to buy single-family homes that have renters and that they know that there's a reliable income stream coming from these consumers. And it's interesting because I'm working with a gentleman out of Hawaii right now, and we're sort of humming and hawing about doing a project over there. And listening to him, that's exactly the product that this international market wants right now. Which sucks because, of course, I want to buy a house for Liam, and, Brian's moaning and complaining about all that. So, put it all together. What the hell am I trying to say here today? If we pop on over to the actual news, the news itself, what I think is going to end up happening is, news-wise, where are we here? Oh, I thought I had it on here. But anyway, news-wise, and of course these leftist agenda news media, there's one topic of conversation on Americans' lips right now. It could be interesting to check in with Grimm and see if he's all up in arms over all of this. But long and short of it here, Mr. Trump is back front and center. It's interesting how you talk to different people. Like I talked to a gentleman in Oregon today, and actually, Grimm, you're in Oregon as well. So maybe today's theme is Oregon. Anyway, he was, and then I was talking to another American today, and they were kind of like, well, maybe this is actually more publicity than anything else because, the whole case is very shady unto itself, and you might find that witnesses all of a sudden mysteriously disappear and the case just falls apart for the feds. But anyway, nonetheless, what's going to be driving the news today? Obviously, Mr. Trump. I don't really see a heck of a lot else that really sort of caught my attention as, oh my goodness, this is huge news. I did see there was another derailment. I think it was in the state of Minnesota. So interesting how Mr. Trump, of course, deregulated a lot of the rail industry. This is probably going to give the regulators more fuel for fire. I also saw in crypto that, of course, Gensler, I think, is just given a whole bunch of money to go after crypto and crack down on the space. So, if anything, the news I'm hearing is kind of like, well, it's almost like Big Brother's got a big shot in the arm here. Other than that, I didn't really see anything sort of news-wise that jumped out at me. Now, econ-wise, I think we actually had some pretty big econs come out here. First off, and I saw this last night, kind of just grabbed my attention, the European inflation issue is finally starting to ebb a bit. The Germans obviously took a big punch in the nose there with the whole energy issue last year, and good old Vladdy there in Eastern Europe. It looks like they've sort of dealt with the problem to a certain degree. At least prices aren't going absolutely parabolic anymore over there. And if anything, things are starting to calm down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some economic pain out of Europe. Like recently, a lot of the sort of pigs nations were starting to sort of say things like, well, we don't have to take away our, hand out golden visas and, basically give away our country's citizenship to try and convince people to come and buy assets in like countries like Portugal and stuff. They're feeling a little bit more optimistic. I wouldn't be surprised if the past year and then now the Europeans actually starting to raise short-term interest rates. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some more economic pain again coming out of Europe. And of course, Germany has the sort of European economic engine. You can start to see the consumers already falling off. I've told you guys before, I think Canada is a short. It is a short for the next 15 years or so. Unfortunately, because the banksters, of course, own all the real estate here, and Peter Finks and stuff are propping up the single-family home market, I don't think you're going to actually see collapses in prices until that 27, 28, 29 recession, where we could probably see some pretty wild fireworks. But in the short term, I think the economy itself is soft, but as long as all this money keeps pouring into the real estate industry from sort of private equity investors, I don't see crash per se. And then also too, I would make the argument commodity prices, they're volatile. We've just come through an easing of pressure. We'll see how it goes, but I don't think commodity prices are too much further down from here. If anything, they're probably more stable as well. And in the States, of course, we're starting to get this information that I was talking about initially. Larry Williams was saying that as soon as we start to see that it looks like the Fed's actually got in front of this inflation problem, you might actually see the U.S. stock market and the U.S. economy just take off like a rocket here. So what does that look like, right? And, PCE, this is the personal consumption expenditure number. You can see, here we are, Friday, 31st of March, core PCE. Market was looking, even previously we're 5/10. Market was looking for 6/10, 4/10, somewhere in there. Came in at 3/10. Now keep in mind, this if you annualize that, well, that's 3 to 4%. So we're now starting to get into that number that the Fed likes, right? They want 2%. So, is this thing actually topped out and starting to break down? Of course, M's and W's. Probably if we actually start printing below 0.2% month over month, that'll actually be sort of the anecdotal evidence. M's in their data set, they follow charts just like all of us good technicians, that indeed they've gotten in front of this. Only time will tell. But, we're starting to see some anecdotal evidence that that's indeed the case. And so not a big surprise. Stock markets, of course, heading up in earnest on that better than expectation report. Interesting enough, U.S. dollar also fairly firm. And if anything, if we start to get like weaker inflation data, but actually stronger econs, and corporate profits are still relatively good, you might actually find that the U.S. dollar outperforms here. Because the Feds haven't said that they're going to lower interest rates anytime soon. But the question ultimately here is, have we sort of hit that peak in interest rates? And remember, the market is a forward discounting mechanism. So we should expect that as soon as the market anticipates that peak is in, you're probably going to see stock prices take off. Interesting. This was a name that I've been banging around for quite some time here. I was barking about Intel for, at least the past 6 months. And sure enough, you can see the damn thing's just taken off like a rocket here. Now starting to get moving average crosses. That, the last time this thing moving average crossed was way up here back in 21. I'm very, very bullish of this stock here. The only problem is it's leaving me behind. Boo, hiss, boo. What does that image look like? It's shocking how much money I left on the table on this darn thing. But this should be a good sign for tech It should be a good sign for crypto. Obviously, if semiconductors are feeling better, um, the option, I always like to trade the leaps. So if we go look at like this January 2024 $40 call, look at this chart. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that just drives you crazy. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. That's the actual stock chart. I mean, beautiful stock chart. But the actual option, look at this performance. This is nuts. So there's your double bottom. That's what I was getting all excited about. That was at 50 cents. And look at the damn thing's $1.83 now. Just crazy moves. So, that's sort of like your buy when it snows, and actually even buying when it snows. So that was back here, I suppose. But fascinating. This is actually a really good example of divergence there and open interest on this option. So clearly somebody knew something was coming down the pike. And of course, I think a lot of this has to do with sort of the relocating of tech and industry itself back to North America. But Intel itself finally is starting to say things like, well, we're going to actually officially attack AMD and go after some of their market share. Anyway, really good example of a contrarian pick. There's, weekly 50% rules. This is also a really good example of spread trade that Zach was talking about. Also a really good example of Foggenbaum's. I feel very confident that we'll probably see 41, 42 bucks on this thing in the not too distant future. So what I'm seeing here, if it's possible, is that following the dot-com blow up, names like this absolutely collapsed and just went right in the tank for like now decades. This guy, he didn't even come back when Microsoft and Amazon and Google and all them took off. Now I'm seeing the exact opposite. So at that point, the question was, and I even remember this specifically, was who was going to fill the shoes of the dot-com bust? And keep in mind, right, if we just look back in time, I don't know whether this will show. There's the dot-com boom in this stock. And you can see, wow. So ironically enough, if you pull up a lot of these bank stocks, they also look like this now, right? And I don't even know if we can get a chart of it, but that SBF, is it even still around anymore? No, what is it? Is SBV or something? Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. There you go.
SVB, yeah.
But is it gone right off the board now? They probably don't even have it. Silver Bull Resources. What the hell's that? Oh, look at that. So how quickly TradingView just, you're out of here. And it's gone. And it's gone.
No historical data, just
Yeah, that's kind of weird, eh?
nothing to see here behind the curtain.
Yeah. You wonder who actually owns this, eh? Doesn't CME own this? Anyway. All right. Anyway, the point of the matter here is that a lot of these regional banks and also a lot of the real estate entities, I don't have it handy, but I don't know. Is there commercial real estate? I'm kind of wasting time here. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, let's see what the hell this thing looks like. I'm just shooting bullets here. Yeah, up and down. There's not really much I can tell you about that. Interesting. Ooh, nasty top, right? What are we supposed to think if you see the market smiling at us? Be careful. Interesting how this thing could never even get back to 2019 highs. So, anyway. My hunch here is that we're going to have a changing of the guard. We're into the growth cycle. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these real estate names kind of underperform. But the tech stocks that have just done nothing over the past little while, I think they're going to outperform here. And where am I going with all this? Why do I keep bantering on? Well, this comes full circle. If this guy's looking like this, then odds are crypto's probably in an investing window. Whoops. And, we've been humming and hawing recently about, what's Bitcoin going to do? Is it going to top out? All blah, blah, blah. Do we have, big diamond patterns? In this particular case, we have diamond patterns within diamond patterns. Kind of a screwy market. What's interesting, this stamp candle obviously was relevant because look how the market rallied right into this reload short zone and then started to back away again. So clearly there's something about this level that's super important in the market. I've simply said that we can't really discern whether Bitcoin's going to be moving higher or lower in earnest until we either close above this level or close below this level. And interesting, you can see they wash the lows, then take it right back up. They wash the highs, take it down, and we're just sort of sitting here stuck. But I think the more important thing about this, and this is where a lot of sort of new people that are trading kind of fail, is what is the bigger picture telling us? And this is the weekly chart, and that's not a chart you really want to be overly bearish about. Still think we can work our way up into sort of 50% levels of entire ranges. This is just 38.2 off of the entire range. That's up at about 36,000. Reload short zones, 52-week range, up here between 35 and 40. That chart shows no signs whatsoever of stopping here. If anything, 200 SMA, the fact that we were able to punch above it and actually close above it, now this 200 SMA should act as really, really strong support. So this just reiterates, right? This message is the same as, which one is it? This one is this message with all these darn 5s and 6s. And the irony of it all is that Bitcoin actually, I don't know whether, I doubt it. Yeah, Bitcoin's a 5 now. So it's already getting pretty close. Where is its 50% level? 31,832. So I can't see why that wouldn't be hit. We're so close to it now anyway. I would actually be surprised if it wasn't hit. And we're still technically in a seasonally friendly market. So, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. I think I saw, there was a city in Canada that the month of March actually did not have a single day where it was above freezing. So snow hasn't thawed here in Canada yet, maybe down in the States, but not here in Canada yet. And then I was also tweeting out, I think I mean, I don't like saying the name because it's just so rude. But, and I was even tweeting out yesterday that, my goodness, there are just some absolutely insane charts in crypto right now, like this one, and it's going higher. Look at it, it's making another new high. That's 10x off of the double bottom here, right? Well, maybe just, well, let's that cute little W. If you had bought that, right? That's 794. Here we are at 5,800. So not quite 10x off of the double bottom, but definitely 10x off of these lows down here. And that doesn't show any signs of quitting. I don't even know. Do we have signs? No, we had a potential. Well, actually, we had a div that came in here. The market quickly put in a W and said, nope, there's a new W in momentum. I want higher, and up I go. So as long as I keep seeing these kind of charts, I can't see how crypto can stop. And this is also the same thing as you're getting leadership from the stocks that are in this sector, like semiconductors, Intel, for example. And they're just some really, really pretty charts. I was barking the other day, I buy W's. Care to join me? And look at this darn thing. I made another new high here today. So they just keep climbing here. I certainly, there's no sell signals anywhere in sight in that kind of chart. And in fact, what we'd probably want to do if you want to come up with upside objectives is just throw on some fogging bombs. So boom, boom, big W. This is energy all built up in here. And chaos theory. And geez, look at that. 2.618. It's not even on the screen. So if this stuff is still pointing up, I don't see how a top can come in the market here. This also makes perfect sense. I wouldn't be surprised if we're doing something like left shoulder, neckline, head, up to neckline, back down, make your right shoulder, and away you go. Big old inverted head and shoulders through the through the year that is 2023. And coming out of 2023, of course, we all know, remember that weekly Bitcoin chart, we know that you better be loaded up on your crypto sort of September, October of 2023, because that's just about exactly 6 months until the Bitcoin halving event, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think is actually somewhere like mid-April. So the rule is, of course, and we'll go into more detail in in the after party and, maybe even on the weekend in the broiler chicken show. You want to be loaded up for this 6 months ahead of the halving event, because once we get into this window, it's back to bull. So get ready, folks. This is an interesting name, like this Cello right here. I mean, look at this. This was a name that actually Danny, I don't know whether you guys remember Magic Internet Money and Danny. Somebody actually asked him, hey, is there a name in this space that you might be interested in to invest in? This was the name actually that he said that he really liked back when he was, of course, all the rage in crypto. And you tell me, that was back here. So if you go and pick up a little bit of this here and hold on to it for a year or two, can you see? This is 68 cents, and 10x basically takes us right back up into this old window here. And there's a bunch of guys sleeping on the couch, sleeping in the doghouse, that if we do ever get up into this area, they are going to think they're lucky stars, and they will be selling into these rallies. But I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts that we're probably going to rally up into these wicks at some point down the road. So hopefully when you see an image look like that, you go, and actually I'm going to just look at the volume. Holy crap. I mean, is somebody buying? You tell me. But I'm going to leave this image with you. And our final thought for this public broadcast on a Friday, and then we'll go hang out with the Wookster and see if we can glean some wisdom from him today in the after party show. But just remember, folks, right? How do you read this statement? And there is no wrong way to read this statement. There isn't a right, there isn't a wrong when it comes to money management. Obviously, if you buy something and it goes down, you're not going to be happy. But how do you read that statement? This is more a commentary on your philosophical approach to life. Some people would look at this price chart and say that, oh my goodness, this thing is a disaster. This is garbage. Why on earth would you be interested in this? Or opportunity is, opportunity, see if I can do that correct, is nowhere. This thing's garbage. It's horrible. Or you can look at this and say, well, we know that Mr. Gann, who's super smarty pants, says that markets often like to retrace 50% of their previous move as nothing more than just a very natural function of what happens in nature, right? Maybe the way that we should be looking at this is opportunity is actually now here. I can't tell you how you are going to look at this, but I can absolutely tell you I was pulling my hair out, whatever hair I still have left, to try and convince people not to chase this market a year or two ago when guys were on like Saturday Night Live claiming, how wonderful they are and how smart they are and talking about their dog money. And unfortunately, that's when the public was super interested. That was when I would be barking opportunity is nowhere. Now that prices have been absolutely wiped out, and I actually think, technically speaking, there's a huge opportunity here just on nothing more than a bounce. I think opportunity is now here, but I can't force you to come in and buy. But I can tell you for absolute damn certain I'm buying. So I'll leave you with that thought that, take a screenshot of that image. Somebody, maybe even save this. And, I will just leave this image exactly the way that it is on the screen. And let's come back 3 or 4 months from now and let's see whether we could have generated a risk-free trade, i.e. buy some down here, sell half on a double as we go through a very typical summer, crypto market. I think that, as I said, I would not be looking at this market as that. I would be looking at this market as this. I think opportunity is now here. All right, folks, I think I'm going to leave the rant at that for today. Looks like the inflation data is starting to come in, so that's great to see. A la Larry Williams, go watch his latest video to get a sort of an old-timer look at why Brian would be interested in the market right here. And then, of course, in our crypto space, the algorithms themselves are spitting up that we should be net buyers, not net sellers. Maybe the market got a little bit ahead of itself here, but I wouldn't be surprised if I have to come back in on the buy side, just not yet. Just got to wait for the market to technically get happy again. If this doesn't come in, I won't be really heartbroken, but I can definitely tell you within the next couple months, there should be another awesome pivot here in the market to take us to the leg up into the spring and summer. So slow and steady wins the race. We don't need to chase, and like I said, off of this XLM, and I think there was a couple others that did this recent here, I buy W's. When these W's start coming in, I just have to force myself to step in and buy, and it's quite remarkable to see these things perform when you actually come in and buy when you're supposed to buy. It's just like you're like, wow, I can't believe that happened. So there you go. In fact, actually, this KMD is starting to go. Look at all these W's. Oh, my God. So you can see where I'm long, bought the W, and I'm making money from trading. So. All right, everybody. Have yourselves a great day. Gonna head on over and hang out with the Wookster for a bit and maybe answer a question or two. PMA for the win. All the best. The only thing left for Brian to say at this point is a big hearty bye for now.